Hey everyone, ever get the feeling like we're just scratching the surface of history? Like there's so much more out there just waiting to be discovered.
You're absolutely right. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. I mean, we think we know so much about the past, but
But what if there are entire civilizations that predate what we consider the dawn of history?
exactly. That's what we're diving into today, lost civilizations.
We've got a whole stack of research and archaeological discoveries, even some ancient texts that hint at the possibility.
Oh yeah, it gets pretty wild.
So buckle up, because this is where it gets really interesting.
One of the things that always struck me is the vastness of time. I mean, modern humans, Homo sapiens, we've been around for what, like 300,000 years?
Right, 300,000 years, give or take.
But the civilizations we typically study, those only go back about 6,000 years.
Yeah, it's a huge EE gap. It makes you wonder what we were up to for all those millennia.
Seriously. Did we really just wander around for hundreds of thousands of years before suddenly figuring out how to build pyramids?
It's hard to believe, right? I mean, come on. And our sources seem to suggest there's more to the story. They point to some pretty dramatic events that could have reshaped history as we know it.
Yeah, like the Younger Dryas event, for example. That was a brutal period of rapid climate change, happened around 12,000 years ago.
Okay, so for those who don't know, tell us about the Younger Dryas. What happened?
Well, temperatures plummeted, ice sheets expanded, and a lot of megafauna went extinct. Woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, gone.
Wow, it sounds like a pretty cataclysmic event.
It was, and what's interesting is that the timeline of the Younger Dryas aligns with a lot of global flood myths. Stories about a great deluge that wiped out civilizations.
Okay, so maybe those flood stories aren't just myths. Could they be based on a real devastating event?
It's a theory worth considering, definitely. Imagine, for instance, entire cities built on coastlines during the last ice age. When the ice melted and sea levels rose, well, those cities would have been submerged.
Gone without a trace.
Exactly. It could explain why we haven't found more evidence of these potential lost civilizations.
That makes me think of Atlantis.
Oh.
Always thought it was just a myth, but what if there's some truth buried beneath the waves?
Well, there are some pretty intriguing underwater discoveries that fuel the imagination. For example, off the coast of India, in the Gulf of Kumhat, researchers found this massive underwater structure,
How old are we talking?
potentially 9,000 years old.
9,000 years. That predates a lot of the civilizations we study.
Right, and then there are these sonar scans from the Caribbean. They reveal what appear to be pyramid-like structures on the seabed.
Underwater pyramids. Okay,
Oh.
now that's just cool.
It really is. And here's the thing. We've only explored a tiny fraction of our oceans. It's like we're peering through a keyhole into this vast unknown world.
It makes you wonder what else might be hidden down there. Sunken cities, lost technologies, who knows?
Exactly. And speaking of hidden cities...
You're talking about the Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a long time, we thought the Amazon was pristine wilderness, untouched by human hands.
But that's not the whole story, is it?
Nope. Recent discoveries using LiDAR technology are painting a very different picture.
So LiDAR, it's like a laser that can penetrate dense vegetation, right?
Right. And what it's revealed is incredible. Extensive networks of roads, canals, urban centers, all beneath the Amazon rainforest.
Wow. So are we talking about a civilization that could rival the ancient Egyptians or the Mayans?
It's certainly possible. And think about this. These discoveries in the Amazon, they're relatively recent. What else might be hidden beneath the surface, just waiting to be uncovered?
The tantalizing thought. Okay, so we've got potential lost cities beneath the waves and hidden in the jungle. What about evidence from ancient texts? I mean, our sources mention some pretty wild stuff. Flying machines, weapons that sound like lasers.
Yes, the ancient text. It's amazing what you find in some of those writings.
I mean, are we talking science fiction here, or could there be something more to it?
Well, ancient texts like the Indian Mahabharata, for example, they describe technologies that seem incredibly advanced for their time. Take the Vimanas, for instance. They're described as flying machines capable of aerial combat and even intercontinental travel.
Wow. So basically ancient airplanes. And I read about weapons that sound like something out of a modern-day sci-fi movie. Beams of energy, devastating explosions. It's hard to believe they were just making this stuff up, right?
Yeah, the descriptions are incredibly vivid and detailed, that's for sure. Of course, there's always the possibility that they're metaphors, myths designed to convey a deeper meaning.
Right.
But some researchers believe these stories might contain echoes of real advanced technology, knowledge that's been lost to time.
Like a forgotten chapter of human history. It makes you wonder if maybe our ancestors knew more than we give them credit for.
It's definitely a possibility.
And speaking of ancient technology that seems ahead of its time, you mentioned the Antikythera mechanism earlier. What's the story with that?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yeah.
That thing is amazing. It was discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, dates back over 2,000 years. And get this, it's essentially an analog computer.
Wait, a computer from over 2,000 years ago?
Yep. Could predict eclipses, track the movements of celestial bodies, even calculate the timing of the Olympic Games.
That's just mind-blowing. We think of computers as a modern invention, but clearly that's not the whole story.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that the Antikythera mechanism is so complex, it took modern scientists decades to fully understand how it worked.
It makes you wonder what else might be out there, just waiting to be discovered, technologies we haven't even dreamed of yet.
Right. And it challenges our assumptions about the technological capabilities of ancient civilizations.
It's like finding a smartphone in a medieval castle. Okay, so we've got these potential lost civilizations with advanced technology, maybe even flying machines.
Maybe.
But that raises a big question. If they existed, where did all the evidence go?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have to remember, though, that nature has a way of erasing the past. Time, erosion, rising sea levels, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions.
Yeah, all those forces can completely reshape continents, obliterate almost any trace of human existence.
Absolutely. And especially over thousands of years, you know? I mean, think about it. Entire cities could be buried, vast land masses submerged, artifacts scattered across continents.
So are we talking about a lost world like the legendary Sunderland Shelf? I read that this massive landmass in Southeast Asia was submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age.
You got it. The Sunderland Shelf is considered a potential cradle of civilization, a place where early humans could have thrived before it was swallowed by the ocean. If that's true, then an entire chapter of human history could be lying on the ocean floor right now, hidden from our view.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so we've covered some pretty mind-blowing possibilities so far. Underwater cities, hidden jungle metropolises, ancient texts hinting at advanced technology, and now this idea of entire land masses with potential evidence of lost civilizations submerged beneath the ocean. But there's still so much more to unpack.
Yeah. We're just getting started.
We need to talk about those out-of-place artifacts, objects that seem way too advanced for their time.
The oparts.
And we haven't even touched on the question of whether these lost civilizations might have self-destructed, maybe even leaving us some warnings in their myths and legends.
Now that is a fascinating thought.
All that and more, coming up in part 2 of our deep dive. All right, so we're back. And I gotta say, I'm still kind of reeling from the idea that entire civilizations could have existed before our recorded history.
It's like trying to piece together a puzzle, but with half the pieces missing, right?
Exactly. But what if some of those pieces, those remnants of lost civilizations, have actually survived, just not in the way we typically think of them?
You're talking about those out-of-place artifacts, aren't you? The oparts, as they're called.
Right. Objects found in archaeological contexts that just seem way too advanced for their time period.
They really challenge our understanding of how technology progressed throughout history.
It's like finding a microchip in a dinosaur fossil or something.
Right. It just doesn't make sense.
One example that always blows my mind is the Baghdad battery.
Oh, yeah, that one's a classic.
A 2,000-year-old clay jar, but it has these copper and iron components that, when you fill it with an acidic solution, it actually generates a small electric current.
The Baghdad battery is fascinating.
I know, right?
And while its exact purpose is still debated, the fact that it exists at all suggests that ancient people might have had a grasp of electricity.
Long before we thought possible.
Exactly. And it raises so many questions. What were they using this knowledge for? Were they electroplating objects?
Experimenting with different forms of energy? I mean, who knows?
It's a glimpse into a world we barely understand.
And then there's the mystery of Sacsayhuaman in Peru.
Oh, those massive stone blocks.
Yeah, some of them weigh over 100 tons.
I know.
And they're fitted together with this incredible precision. It's mind-boggling. It's hard to imagine how they achieve that without modern tools and techniques.
Sacsayhuaman is truly remarkable. The way those stones interlock without any mortar, it really is a testament to their architectural prowess.
It makes you wonder if they use techniques that we've completely forgotten.
Right. Maybe harnessing the power of sound or vibration or something to manipulate those massive stones.
That's incredible. But, you know, here's a thought that's both fascinating and a little bit unsettling. What if some of these advanced civilizations didn't just disappear because of natural disasters or the passage of time?
What if they self-destructed? It's
Exactly.
a sobering thought.
I know. It makes you think.
We often look at ancient civilizations with a sense of wonder and awe, but it's important to remember they faced their own set of challenges.
Warfare, environmental degradation, social upheaval. We see evidence of all those things in the archaeological record.
Right. They weren't immune to the problems that plague civilizations.
So those flood myths that we find in so many cultures around the world, could they be more than just stories of natural disasters?
Could they be warnings from the past?
Tales of civilizations that reached a tipping point and brought about their own downfall.
It's certainly possible. I mean, think about it. These stories, passed down through generations, might contain echoes of real events.
Cautionary tales.
Yeah, cautionary tales about the consequences of unchecked ambition or unsustainable practices.
A reminder that we're not so different from those who came before us.
Right. We face our own set of challenges today, and the choices we make now will shape the course of our own civilization.
So let's shift gears a bit and delve into an even more mind-boggling possibility. This idea that the legacy of lost civilizations might be encoded in our very DNA.
Okay, now we're getting into some really speculative territory.
But it's fascinating to think about.
Right. It's like, what if these lost civilizations left a mark on us that goes beyond physical artifacts?
Think about the great leap forward in human intelligence. That happened around 50,000 years ago. Suddenly we see this explosion of creativity, the development of complex language, sophisticated tools and technologies.
It's almost like something switched on in our brains, went from barely surviving to really thriving.
Exactly.
And some researchers suggest that maybe this leap forward wasn't entirely random.
Okay, what do you say?
What if it was influenced by knowledge or maybe even genetic material from an earlier, more advanced species?
You mean like what, they interbred with early humans?
It's a possibility, sharing their genes and their knowledge.
Wow. So we could be carrying the legacy of these lost civilizations within us,
Yeah.
woven into the very fabric of our being.
It's a humbling thought.
It really is. But,
Yeah.
it also raises a question. If these lost civilizations were so advanced, wouldn't we have found more concrete evidence by now? I mean, something more than just a handful of intriguing artifacts.
Well, we have to remember that we've only explored a tiny fraction of our planet. I mean, the oceans are vast, and the Earth is constantly changing. What we consider solid ground today could have been submerged thousands of years ago. So it's possible that the most compelling evidence is still out there,
Buried beneath layers of sediment,
hidden in unexplored regions.
like a giant needle in a haystack. But that haystack is the entire planet.
Exactly. And that's why we need to keep searching, keep exploring with open minds and a sense of wonder.
Every new discovery, every piece of the puzzle we uncover, it brings us closer to understanding our place in this grand tapestry of history.
Right. And that's the beauty of it all, isn't it?
It really is. So we've talked about these incredible possibilities, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired.
Me too. It's like this whole new world has opened up.
Exactly. But I have to admit, there's a question that keeps nagging at me. If we could somehow communicate with one of these lost civilizations, what would we even ask them? What would we want to know?
That's a profound question. What would I ask? That's tough. I think I would want to know what their greatest accomplishments were.
What they were most proud of as a civilization.
Exactly. And maybe even more importantly, I'd want to know what challenges they faced, what lessons they learned, what ultimately led to their demise.
That's a good one. I think I'd want to know if they ever looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone in the universe.
Did they contemplate the vastness of time and space?
Yeah. Did they grapple with the same questions about existence and purpose that we do today?
Those are beautiful questions.
It's like, despite the vast differences in time and technology, we're all connected by our shared humanity, our curiosity, and our desire to understand our place in the cosmos.
It's like we're all part of this ongoing conversation, this grand narrative that stretches back through millennia. And maybe, just maybe, by listening closely, we can hear the echoes of those who came before us, whispering their stories and sharing their wisdom.
Perhaps those whispers are all around us, just waiting to be discovered. Wow, we have really gone deep, haven't we?
Yeah, we've journeyed through some pretty mind-bending territory in our search for lost civilizations.
From submerged cities to ancient texts hinting at advanced technology, it feels like we've only just scratched the surface of what might be out there. But after all this exploration, I'm curious, where do you land? What are the key takeaways for you?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is this: the possibility of lost civilizations. Yeah, it's not just some fringe theory.
Right.
There's a growing body of evidence, from archaeological discoveries to, like you said, those intriguing anomalies in ancient texts, that really suggests our understanding of history.
Well, it might be incomplete.
I agree. We've discussed some truly fascinating examples. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, with its incredibly sophisticated structures, and it was built by hunter-gatherers over 12,000 years ago.
That one's hard to explain.
It really is. And what about the Piri Reis map? It seems to depict Antarctica centuries before it was officially discovered.
I know. It's like, how did they know?
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old analog computer. And it's more complex than anything we thought possible for its time.
It really makes you wonder what else is out there just waiting to be found.
Right. And let's not forget the enduring power of myths and legends.
Oh yeah, those stories are more than just entertainment.
Exactly. Passed down through generations, they might contain echoes of real events, advanced knowledge, or even warnings from civilizations that came before us.
But here's the thing that I keep coming back to. If these civilizations were so advanced, why haven't we found more concrete proof? Wouldn't there be more than just a handful of intriguing artifacts and some sonar scans of potential underwater structures?
It's a good question, but we have to consider the immense power of time and nature.
Erosion, rising sea levels, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes.
All of that. Those forces can reshape continents. Obliterate almost any trace of human existence, especially over thousands of years.
It's humbling to think about, isn't it? That even our most impressive structures, our cities, our technology, it could all one day vanish without a trace.
Swallowed by the earth or reclaimed by nature.
Makes you think about our own legacy, doesn't it?
It does. It's a reminder of the impermanence of things, for sure, and the importance of resilience.
So if these lost civilizations did exist, what can we learn from them?
Well, their rise and fall could hold valuable lessons for us. Did they face environmental challenges? Did they push technology too far? Did they succumb to internal conflicts? These are all things we grapple with today.
Right. History might not repeat itself, but it often rhymes.
Exactly. By studying the past, we might gain insights that could help us navigate the challenges we face in the present and the future.
So what can we do to unravel these mysteries? Where do we go from here?
Well, we need to keep searching, exploring, and questioning. We need to support those archaeological expeditions, invest in technologies like LiDAR and advanced sonar.
And encourage collaboration between different fields. Archaeologists, historians, linguists, geneticists.
Yeah, all of them working together. It's like we're all detectives, piecing together clues from across time and space to solve the greatest mystery of all.
The story of our collective human journey. That's a great way to put it.
But in the process of searching for these lost civilizations, we might just rediscover something about ourselves.
Our potential.
Our place in the grand scheme of things.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to resurface from this incredible deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you could ask just one question of a lost civilization, what would it be? What secrets would you want to unlock? Let us know your thoughts on social media, and until next time, keep exploring the mysteries of the past and present.